Let's do it.
We are live on the Bullpen Podcast. Welcome into the show tonight. We are excited to be here on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. Not too far away from October, not too far away from fall and beautiful weather and kids going back to school. If you have them, you know you're excited. Don't you lie to us. I'm your host, Chris Krogerman. You can find me on the Twitter machine at ShyBears1985. I am joined by the best baseball memory in all the land, Adam Kunos, at Kunos19 on the Twitter machine. Go make fun of him and the White Sox because he needs something to laugh at. So bring your jokes. But no, in all seriousness, Adam, how are you tonight, my man?
We are doing good down here in the state of Florida. Like you said, school started back down here, so my wife returned to teaching today. Today was day one back in school. Um, woo. And her school year started. My school years, or at least for the summer, is coming down to an end, and I got a 2-week break before I pick back up with the fall semester at the end of the month. I mean, we're getting down to like some good sports months coming up. We got preseason football that's just kicking off. Then we'll soon have basketball, hockey, soccer's kicking into playoff format here shortly. So, I mean, if you're a sports fan, we're coming into like one of the best times of the year for sports, just on a calendar year basis.
World Cup is like around Thanksgiving this year for some stupid reason, but Premier League just started up back up last weekend. Not a Premier League guy yet. I'm trying to get more into soccer. Like I need more things in my life to consume my time. But hey, it's fun. I hear lots of people like it, so I'll try and check it out. Yeah, so we are sponsored by Fanatics. Head on over to Fanatics. Get all your Field of Dreams game gear. Some cool jerseys released, some old time jerseys released. You can find us, the show, on Twitter at The Bullpen Pod. You can also find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the fun places where you listen to our voices speak baseball. So, yeah, let's jump right in. Adam, did we have a good series this past weekend or what?
I mean, you look at the series from top to bottom that we talked about. I mean, they were all good series, but we're going to start probably the one that had the most impact, I would say, standings-wise. Your Mets pretty much demolished Atlanta in a 5-game series. Chris,
they sure did.
Go a little deeper into that.
They sure did. Yeah. So opened the series on Friday with God. Who started that game? Was that Cookie? No. Maybe Walker? I can't remember who started Friday now. Damn it. Anyway, so Mets win Friday 6-4. Day game was a little bit more competitive. David Peters. No, that's not right. That was Thursday. Thursday, Friday. 2 games on Saturday. Yeah. So Thursday Mets win. Friday Braves win 9-6. Mets win on Saturday in the first game of the doubleheader 8-5. So they had David Peterson going in that game. And then you had Max Scherzer going in the night game. They win 6-2. And then you got to see the big anticipated return of Jake DeGrom to Citi Field. If you're a Mets fan, you SNY Sports New York that covers the Mets did a pretty cool thing where they just let Jake's music play while he warmed up and just watched him warm up. He does Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. And yeah, Place was just buzzing. City Field was super hyped up, so it was really neat to see Jake DeGrom, back in City Field for his second start back from basically a year hiatus. Just looking fantastic, touching 102 on the gun. Has the nastiest slider. Throws at 95 miles an hour, which he is actually throwing harder than when he was hurt before he was hurt. So he looks like he's back to form. Hopefully he can stay healthy. If he can, I cannot imagine a better 1-2 punch in baseball than Max Scherzer and Jake DeGrom. So the Mets win that game 5-2. They pull ahead of Atlanta now 7.5 games. This division, the NL East, was down to 2.5 games not too long ago, and the Phillies are actually closer to the Braves than the Braves are to the Mets. The Phillies are on a hell of a streak, 9-1 over their last 10. They've won 6 in a row. They are 61-48, only 3 games back of Atlanta, and they hold a half-game lead for the third wild card spot. So NL East is still a fairly interesting and competitive division. Assuming the Mets are just on an absolute tear as well. They're 8-2 over their last 10. They've won 6 in a row. Atlanta's playing Boston right now. They played them tough last night. 11 inning game with Austin Riley, who just got his big deal. Sealed the deal for the Braves with a 2-run single in the 11th inning. Philadelphia and Miami going at it right now. Sandy Alcantara on the mound, still one of the best pitchers in the National League. So that division's still a lot of fun in a lot of ways. But yeah, absolute domination by the Metropolitans. Braves fans in shambles. Braves blogs don't know what to do with themselves. They were running a lot of muck, talking a whole lot of shit. And in all honesty, they're pretty humble right now, which is kind of nice to see. So this rivalry is getting fun again. It was fun and also tormentous for Mets fans when Chipper Jones was just kicking our dicks in for years, but here we are, Adam. So it's a fun time to be a Mets fan. The next series that we talked about. So going back to what we had for records, I had Mets winning the series 3-2. Adam, you had Atlanta just to be a contrarian 3-2, but I think deep down in your heart you thought the Mets would win.
Pretty much.
Mets win the series 4-1, so they gain 3 games in that series over the Braves. Like I said, now have a 7.5 game lead in the division. Padres at the Dodgers. We both thought that San Diego would win this series coming off the hype of the Juan Soto trade and Josh Bell. What happened in this series, Adam?
It was a Dodgers sweep. They ended up just demolishing San Diego in a what almost looked like it was a 3-game set, a quick 3-game set. If you're a Padres fan, just the way that the Dodgers offense just came out on pretty much on fire the entire time. They're hitting the ball incredibly well. Dodgers win game 1, 8-1, win game 2, 8-3, and then shot the Padres 4-0. Looking at the standings, the Dodgers are sitting at 76-33. They're 9-1 their last 10, 9-game winning streak. Have a 233 run differential. If you look at the next closest team in the National League, and this is the National League, the New York Mets are second with 127. So there's over 100 run difference between the Dodgers and the Mets right now in that category alone. But again, we see this from LA year after year after year. We see they're a really good regular season team, and then when it gets to the playoffs, then they become more questionable on if they can perform in the playoffs. But yeah, game 1 was kind of a tell-off for me. They just needed 8 runs within the first 3 innings just to kind of set the tone for the series. 4 in the first, 4 in the third, and then they pretty much repeat on the next day, scoring 8 more runs, and then they just cut the offense in half on Game 3 with 4 runs. So Dodgers, I mean, again, good regular season team, questionable in the playoffs.
What do you think it is about the Dodgers in the playoffs, Adam?
I'm not 100% sure what it is about the Dodgers that can't seem to get over a playoff hump. Obviously, 2020, they go on and win the whole thing. That's a crazy year to begin with. So, I mean, a lot of things could have happened that year had that been a full regular season. If you want to play the what if game for 2020, I don't know. Maybe it's not the stage. Dodgers are used to a playoff stage, having been the playoffs pretty much the entire 2010s. I don't know.
Do you think that Dave Roberts has anything to do with it? Do you think he's a good playoff manager? Do you think he's made good decisions? Tapping into that Kunos memory for you.
So I'm not sure going to say I would put the blame solely on Dave Roberts for Dodgers' poor playoff performance. I mean, Clayton Kershaw for the longest time has poor playoff performances as well. He has not been the best pitcher in the playoffs. He has struggled in the playoffs the last couple of years. Obviously, he's gotten better over the last couple of years as well. I can't be 100% sure what exactly is the sole cause of the Dodgers' playoff woes.
Yeah, it's always tough to quantify something like that. Desire, clutch performance, things like that are always hard to quantify. Baseball's getting really good at doing that, at quantifying clutch performance and things like that. So maybe we'll dig into that as we get closer to the playoffs. This season is interesting to me in that the Dodgers are getting a lot of good performance out of their back end of their staff with like Tony Gosselin and Tyler Anderson, and even like their fifth starter, who seems to be some random dude every time. But Urias and Kershaw's been in and out. And then obviously Walker Buehler has had his injury problems and also his performance issues this season. So we'll see what happens. Like you said, very good regular season team. It was very interesting to see him just straight smack the Padres in the mouth, and the Padres they couldn't score. 1 run, 3 runs, 0 runs, and this is in LA. Want to make a head-to-head, or like you want to make a comparison about some other teams. Mets took 2 out of 4 in LA were able to score on their pitchers. The head-to-head record between LA and San Diego, oh my God, it favors the Dodgers 8-2. And not that they don't pretty much own everybody. They 9-2 against Arizona. They're 10-3 against San Francisco. Colorado, they're 8-5. That's actually pretty interesting that Colorado's kind of held their own against them. The funny thing is like where the Dodgers have faltered is they're like 1-5 against Pittsburgh. They're 3-4 against Philadelphia. They're 3-3 against the Nationals, who are awful at baseball. So, yeah, it's just going to be very, very interesting to watch this pennant race and this. Actually, not the pennant race. It's fucking over, dude. Dodgers got that by a long shot. But
I mean, it's a 2.5 game lead over San Diego. I mean,
yeah. It was funny when the Soto deal went down. I looked at the futures for the Padres winning the division, and it was still like plus 2,500. So basically 25-1 that the Padres win the West. And I was like, It's never going to happen, dude. They were 10 and a half games out at the break or at the trade deadline, which is 7 days ago, 8 days ago, and now they're 15 and a half out. Lost 5.5 games in a matter of a week. I'm sorry, Padre fans. It's not looking good again.
Well, no, and you bring up another interesting point, how they break down team, but you also want to say you win your division by beating up your division. The Dodgers
Yes.
are 35-12 against division opponents. I'll flip it to the Mets. The Mets are 37-14 against NL East opponents. So if you want to win your division, you have to beat up the teams in your division in order to take control.
Excellent point, Mr. Kunos, as usual. Very wise. Wise beyond his years, folks.
Very
Hasn't even hit 40 yet.
3 years.
You talked about the Dodgers record, Adam. 76-33 is now the best record in baseball, followed by the Mets and then the Astros and Yankees. Yankees have kind of struggled. They are 2-8 over their last 10. They are hitting that injury wall that they seem to hit almost every season. They still hold a 10-game lead over Toronto, 12-game lead over Baltimore, which we'll get into a little bit. But let's talk about the series kind of involving the AL East. The Toronto Blue Jays at the Minnesota Twins, 4-game set. How did this series shake out, Adam?
It was a split down the middle. And Chris, I think if we're going by who had the better predictions, you win this round. You had a series split. I was hoping for a Toronto win, going 3-1. But the Blue Jays come out, win game 1, 9-3. Twins come back, take game 2, 6-5. Twins come back and actually take control of game 3, win 7-3. And the Blue Jays cap off the series split with a 3-2 win. So split down the middle. If you're a Central fan, not the kind of win series you're hoping for, but it kind of shows that the Twins are not as good as the record indicates. They do have some flaws in that team. I mean, they're now tied with Cleveland for the AL Central lead, and the White Sox still within striking distance, despite of how poorly they've played this year. So, again, the AL Central is only going to have one team in the playoffs this year. But then you look at Toronto. I mean,
so Toronto's got a plus 60 win differential or plus 60 run differential. Minnesota's got a plus 20. Toronto's 29-38 against teams above 500. Minnesota is 30-34. I think Minnesota is just as good as their record indicates. I mean, I don't think Minnesota is. I think this series shows Minnesota is good rather than the other way around.
Well, I mean, you look at their expected win-loss total. Minnesota's currently at 57-52, and they're matching their expected win-loss total of 57-52. So, okay, yeah, they're probably as good of a team as people are thinking they are. Definitely a bounce back from their performance last year, where they kind of just sat at the AL Central basement for the entire year. Cleveland win-loss expected total this year is 56-53. They're playing well above that, 57-52. White Sox currently 56-54. They're technically 2 games above their win-loss expected total, 54-56. So,
yeah. Well, we're joined by a White Sox fan in the comments. Juan Gutierrez, what do you think about the White Sox? Do you think they can still challenge for this AL Central? Is Minnesota for real? Cleveland, are they talented enough to get it done? We'll wait for Juan's answer at some point. But I mean, like, this is a fun division now. I mean, in my opinion, we all thought that the White Sox would run away with this. I mean,
it was a clear prediction that they would run away with the division after they Won last year, and until Tony is fired, his team won't go all the way. Ooh, he is speaking a lot of. He speaks the mind of a lot of White Sox fans right now. If you've been on Twitter lately, and you just searched under White Sox Twitter, ooh, the hatred for Tony La Russa right now is not shy. I mean, they're calling on his decision making, just the way he set pitching rotations, batting orders, the way he's handled injuries. There's a lot of question marks around how La Russa has been managing this team this year.
So, as older adults and whatnot, or and with a family, I only have so much time to put into all of this, sports and just life and everything like that. So, following the Mets is my shit. I watch MLB Tonight as much as possible and whatnot. But what I'm going to talk about here is like having an experienced coach or manager that has a long history, has done a lot of games, like La Russa, like Dusty Baker, like Buck Showalter for the Mets. So like I thought that he was going to be the best hire for them. It's clearly working very well for New York. So I when La Russa was hired originally, I thought it was a terrible idea. I thought that they needed a young manager to go with all the young talent. That's probably not it. I think maybe a little bit younger of a manager than La Russa, who's falling asleep in the dugout. Maybe get him some Red Bull or
Cup of coffee. Get some coffee.
Cup of Joe, or maybe even some testosterone booster or something. Get that guy kicking the pants and wake him up. But like Dusty Baker, man, that's working out fine. I mean, he's a good manager, and he's as old as La Russa. So maybe it's just Tony, maybe it's just his specific decision making and him holding this team back. I also think there's something with the trainers or the general health of the White Sox that holds them back, because they every week it's something. And now Tim Anderson's hurt again. So
yeah, he's out for 6 weeks. Yeah, I mean, a lot of Sox fans are talking about the trade deadline, how the Sox weren't active at the trade deadline, how they should have been more aggressive to go out, at least get another pitcher in the starting rotation, get some offensive help. And now with Tim Anderson on the sideline for 6 weeks, this is going to be a real gut check for the White Sox to see if they can keep up with the Twins and the Guardians in that division.
So, like, speaking of like, do White Sox fans wanted a starting pitcher or a relief, like bullpen help?
It was kind of mixed both, but I believe it was leaning more toward bullpen help because the bullpen has been struggling this year. Hendricks had a slow start. He's kind of bounced back. He's having another good, solid year as a closer. Dickerman, who came over from Boston, has been doing a good job in that kind of setup role. Graveman has been doing a good job for a while. Ronaldo Lopez was on the IL for a while. We have a couple of pitchers from the bullpen that are on the IL for the year, so we do have some bullpen holes.
So, like as far as starting pitchers go, like Luis Castillo was moved. That was a pretty big deal. I mean, like, what do the Sox have left in the minors to, do you want to? Would you want to see them, tap into what's left in the minors? Dave Robertson was moved as a reliever. Iglesias from the Angels was moved as a reliever, as a good reliever. Michael Givens was moved from Chicago, from the Cubs to the Mets, and there's probably several other back end relievers moved. But to me, I don't know if that guy that would help the White Sox win more games was really out there. I mean, we can bag on teams for not making moves, but sometimes the smartest moves you make are the moves you don't. Like I know Mets Twitter was bananas about them not making enough moves, and they made several basically chess piece type moves, getting Daniel Vogelbach to be the left-handed DH against right-handed pitching, and Darren Ruff to be the right-handed DH against left-handed pitching. And it's working out great. And they added Tyler Nyquin. These are small pieces, but these guys give the manager roster flexibility to do, to kind of match up the best way you can against the other team. And that seems to be the best way to play baseball nowadays is, on base percentage and matchups and stuff like that. So, like, what do you think of like some smaller moves the White Sox could have made? Do you think that would have been beneficial to them to not give up the farm for like a Luis Castillo?
Yeah, I think maybe a small move here or there would have been good. I mean, don't forget they had Lance Lynn, who missed pretty much the entire first half of the season. Lucas Giolito hasn't been his way what we saw him back in 2020 when he do a complete shutout against the Pirates or a complete game shutout. Dylan Cease has been phenomenal for that rotation. He has been legit ace of this team this year. Johnny Cueto, for most part, has been pretty much a solid pickup for the White Sox. This was probably a more underrated pickup that a lot of people were questioning at the beginning of the season. But every time, I think I was reading an article by Chuck Garfinkel of NBC Sports Chicago, every time Cueto's on the mound, he gives the White Sox a better chance to win just with the amount of innings he eats up. He eats up anywhere between 5 to 7 innings a game. He sometimes saves the Sox bullpen to just maybe 1 or 2 innings of work, and he holds opponents down. He has one of the best ERAs in the league right now. I'll have to look up see what his ERA is right now, but he has been a solid piece for that White Sox pitching staff this year.
Yeah, he definitely has. And Dylan Cease, the reason he's so good is his mustache.
It's the stash, isn't it? I think the Dylan stash is trending on Twitter.
Somebody posted like his numbers with and without the stash, and they're phenomenal. They're ridiculously different. Like he's so much better with the mustache than he is without it. So, definitely something you need to keep, Mr. Cease. So as far as the AL Central goes, the White Sox still have, kind of let's see here. It's gonna be close. To make the playoffs, Fangraphs has 54% for the Twins, 45% for the Guardians, and pretty much 45% for the White Sox. So we'll see. The strength of schedule remaining favors the White Sox as the teams they play have a 48% winning percentage as opposed to a 49% winning percentage for the Twins and Guardians, but not a big difference, obviously. So it's going to be a tight race. We'll see if the White Sox and Twins can catch. Cleveland and Minnesota are tied, so we'll see if the White Sox can catch them. They're a game and a half back of the division. They are 2 games back of that third wild card spot behind Tampa and Baltimore, which that just seems weird, but we'll get into that a little bit later with our weekend preview with the O's. What's next, Mr. Kunos?
Well, we have, if you're a fan of the Red Sox or Chris Sale, you're not going to like this. Put some training wheels on that bike for him. He is out for the season with a fractured, I believe, what was it? Finger, thumb?
I thought he broke his wrist. Fractured his wrist falling off his bicycle.
Yeah. Anyway, he's out for the rest of the season.
Anyway,
he's out for the rest of the season. He was very limited for just 2 games, 0-1, 3.18 ERA, 5 2/3 inning pitch, 5 strikeouts. His WHIP was 106, which that's pretty decent for 2 games. Now, if you're the Red Sox going forward with Chris Sale, what do you do with him? Do you keep him in the starting rotation? Do you say, hey, we're going to put you in the bullpen as a long reliever? Or do you release or try to trade him?
Depends on what his contract is. I mean, I don't really see the big point in keeping him. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be going well for the White Sox and Chris Sale, so perhaps it's time to move on. Um, I just saw something cool about Chris Sale the other day. It was like the most amount of strikeouts on the least amount of pitches because I think it was, yeah. So DeGrom struck out 12 batters on Sunday on 76 pitches, which is just ridiculous. And I think there was a guy for the Marlins that did that on 71 pitches, which is even more crazy. And then I think Sale was somewhere like right around that same thing, was 12 for 76 in the last like couple of years. So, I mean, Chris Sale is still very talented, but he's been hurt 2 years in a row now, seriously hurt. Uh, I don't know. What do you think? What should they do with him?
I mean, if the Red Sox do keep him, I throw him in the bullpen. He came up with the White Sox as a long reliever, as kind of like a setup man. He transitioned into the starting role after a couple of years, kind of flourished into a starting pitcher. He had some Cy Young talk before, while he was with the White Sox towards the end of his career and before he got traded to Boston. I don't know. I see him more as a bullpen pitcher. I think he can kind of rebound his career as set up as a long reliever. I mean, go out, eat up innings, be that one double. If the Sox have a doubleheader coming up, be that game 2 starter, kind of save your starting pitching, eat up some innings for the bullpen. I don't know. It's just, I mean, obviously he had a great year in 2018. He helped the Sox to a World Series title that year, but kind of has declined since that. I don't know. I mean, I think you agree on what his contract is. If his contract is something that the Red Sox can get out of or kind of negotiate, like maybe a trade and sign with him or release and sign with him, then yes, I say release him. But all depends on what that contract says.
Well, let's find out.
The one thing we don't know, what we know is the throwback jersey is not hindering his pitching performance. They must have hidden the scissors from him.
What?
Oh, you haven't heard? So when he was with the White Sox, he was pulled from one of his starts because the White Sox were going to wear 77 throwback jerseys, and Chris Sale took a pair of scissors to jerseys and snipped them because he didn't like the jerseys.
What a joker.
Yeah.
So he's still signed for quite a bit longer. Yeah, he ain't going nowhere unless they trade him. So he's still got 2023, 2024, and then I think a player or some sort of option for 25. And he's an unrestricted. No, yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent after 25. And he's got some bonuses in here. Oh no, player opt out available after 2022.
Ooh, so he could opt out and test the market.
Yep.
Interesting.
He's gonna do that. He should.
I would.
5-year, $50 million. God, that's terrible. Wait, no, that's a deferred contract. Never mind. Completely ignore me. I can't read Spot Track. That shit's hard.
Good.
So,
I say
he's making quite a bit of money. He's making $30 million, close to $30 million. You're going to pay a reliever $30 million if he's not your closer?
Probably not. Unless he wants to be a closer. Unless you say become a closer and he can flourish at the closer role.
Who's their current closer? Tanner Hook. Tanner Hook. He's got injuries too. He's on the IL with back injury. Oh yeah, they just signed Jayreese Familia. That guy's terrible. But he has like the second most or third most saves in Mets history. So shows you how bad the Mets have been in forever. So let's get off let's Sale the Chris Sale talk for now. We'll see what Boston wants to do with him. And let's talk some wild card races, Adam. It's still August, but we're heading into the quote unquote final stretch of the season. If math is my strong suit, which it's not, we have about 50 games left. So the American League wildcard standings have Toronto, Tampa, and Seattle, and Baltimore. Baltimore and Tampa are tied for that third spot. So it's Toronto with a +2, Seattle with a +1.5, and then Baltimore and Tampa are the two teams that are 1.5 games behind that. So there is a two-way tie for the third spot. Absolute shit show trying to read this because I'm not smart. And then you have the White Sox, the Guardians or Twins, and Boston, all within 5 games. And you even have Texas if they got their head out of their ass for all 50 of the last 50 games that are 9.5 games back. And shit, even the Angels are only 10 games back. So let's just focus on everybody above the White Sox, essentially. So Yankees are winning the East. That's pretty much done. Houston's winning the West. That's pretty much done. And then you have just a jumbled mess of shit between Toronto, Baltimore, Tampa, Boston, Cleveland, Minnesota, and the White Sox. That's fun. MLB has created some more drama with these extra playoff spots, right, Adam?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you think about back in 2012 when they introduced the second wild card. Everyone's like, "This isn't good. Why second wild card?" Since then, you've had more fantastic ends of the season when it comes to wild card races that I've seen even with just a one wild card race. Even with the one wild card race going up to 2011, you still had some great finishes, but you had an extra wild card spot in there. It's just fantastic playoff races down to the stretch, and now you got a third wild card spot. Chaos. This is absolute chaos, and I absolutely love it.
It's madness.
You're going to have teams focusing on the game, scoreboard watching from now until the end of the season. They're going to be looking at everyone. And how about this? Baltimore, of all teams, who would have thought they would be this deep into the season, tied for the third wildcard spot with Tampa, of all teams?
So I used to listen to this gambling network, VSiN, Vegas Sports Information Network, and they started touting Baltimore not as a contender this year, but next year that they'd make the playoffs. And I've heard it from a couple other folks that they all thought Baltimore would make the playoffs next year. And Baltimore is just showing up now. They have a good young roster. Adley Rutschman at catcher is a super prospect. I can't name too many other people on this team. Cedric Mullins. There's a pitcher, Kyle something or other, or something. Lyles, Jordan Lyles. He's good. He's really good. So, yeah, Baltimore's bringing it. That's interesting. And then Tampa, I don't know, dude. That's your squad. You tell us what's going on there.
It's hard to tell exactly what's going on in Tampa. I mean, they've had injuries up and down the season. They play more of the sabermetrics when it comes to baseball and more of the small ball. We're going to use 97 starting pitchers in a season. We're going to pretty much use the bullpen for a game or so. I don't know. I just can't get my mind around Baltimore. They remind me of Seattle a couple of years ago, just teasing us. They're teasing us right now. That's how good they can be, and just giving us a glimpse of just how good they could possibly be in the next couple of years. I mean, what we wrote off Baltimore as what dead in the water at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, but then we talked about them, the whole division being above 500, like a little bit before the All Star break, which is extremely possible at this point, with Boston only being 3 games under 500. Um, that would be super interesting. Yeah, no other divisions even close to that. So, um, yeah, we tried to write off Baltimore, and they said no.
Absolutely not.
They said we will not be denied. We are the Orioles of Camden Yards, which is celebrating its 30th year in existence. I remember when Camden was built back when Cal Ripken played there.
Oh,
Uh, it was a super cool stadium. One of the first like state of the art stadiums or
yeah,
whatever.
it was one of the first retro modern stadiums in that category of like the retro modern. Because if you go back to the timeline, New Comiskey was built in '91. That was more of your cookie cutter style concrete stadium. But Baltimore Camden Yards was the first true retro modern stadium.
Retro modern.
Yep.
What a name.
What a
That's
name
that's
indeed.
a stupid name. That's like a oxymoron.
It is what it is. But I mean, it's that ballpark's on on my list to actually step into and watch a game there.
We drove by it when we were out there, but I didn't get a chance. Went by that, and I think the Ravens Stadium is like right there as well.
Yeah, we did the same thing.
Yeah. So that's the American League wild card race. Giant shit show. National League isn't that much different, in all honesty. Atlanta, Philadelphia, San Diego currently hold the wild card spots. Um, Atlanta's got the top spot, 3.5 games. Philadelphia is, or wait, no, yeah. So what the fuck? I hate reading these things. So yeah, Atlanta has the top spot. San Diego, I think, has the second spot, and then Philadelphia has the second spot. San Diego has what the fuck ever. Those three teams are your wild card spots. Um, St. Louis leads the Central, but Milwaukee's only a half game back there and 1 game back in the wild card. San Francisco is 7.5 games back, and yeah, that's the closest that anybody's going to get. Next closest team would be Arizona, who's 10.5 games back and only 9 games under 500. Good for you, Arizona.
Yeah, good for you.
God, I wish the Rockies were better. It'd be nice to go. Rockies have such an awesome stadium in downtown area.
Gorgeous stadium. I love that's been one of my favorite stadiums to go to. Just with the rock wall in center field, just the overall atmosphere is just absolutely phenomenal.
Well, they put a bar in right field, like
oh yeah, up like top, like on the upper deck, like walk around bar.
Like right around that mile high purple seat area. So that's super cool. But yeah, so Atlanta 65-46 plus 83 run differential. Philadelphia 61-48 plus 75 run differential. St. Louis plus 73 run differential. Only putting them in there because they're barely up. San Diego only with that plus 40 run differential, but you got to think they play in that NL West, so they're playing the Dodgers a lot. They've lost a lot to the Dodgers. They play San Francisco, so they're tough. Who do you think gets left out in the cold in these wild cards in the National League and the American League, Adam? So you got 3 spots to pick from. You got Atlanta, Philadelphia, San Diego, with Milwaukee and San Francisco chasing, or St. Louis if you think Milwaukee will come up. And then in the American League, you got Toronto, Tampa, Seattle, with Baltimore, Cleveland, Chicago, and Boston all within 5 games. I guess who do you think are the 3 that get in and then we'll talk about who is left out in the cold and if it could go another way.
All right, I'm going to start with the American League. I think Seattle's going to get in. I think they'll lock up a AL wildcard spot. I think Toronto locks up. It's going to be Seattle, Toronto for your top two wildcard teams in the American League. And I'm still going to give the edge to Tampa Bay over Baltimore. I think Tampa has the more experienced team when it comes to playoffs. Baltimore is still a little young, even though they're showing glimpses right now of what they could possibly be. I just don't think they have the roster that can keep up with the down the stretch schedule that they have. They're going to be playing Yankees. They're going to be playing Toronto, even Boston down the stretch. So I give it to Tampa. So my three teams in are Toronto, Seattle, and Tampa. Baltimore, and I'll go probably White Sox, Cleveland, and or Minnesota. One of those three teams. Any mix of those teams from the AL Central are left out of October. For the National League, I give a spot to Atlanta. I give a spot to San Diego. Maybe Milwaukee can sneak in, but I don't know. Philadelphia is kind of making it a little more challenging for Milwaukee just to kind of get over the hump. I mean, right now the NL wildcard is just based off percentage points for that second wildcard. Philadelphia has a 560 winning percentage. San Diego has a 553. That's the only reason why Philadelphia is in second place over San Diego. It's just based on winning percentage. Yeah, I'll go Atlanta, San Diego, Milwaukee. I'll lock those three teams in as the NL.
Atlanta, San Diego, Milwaukee. Okay, so I'm going to say Atlanta, Philadelphia, San Diego. I don't think Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee, when they traded Josh Hader, basically gave up. I don't think that they're in it. There's been questions on if they quit on Craig Counsell earlier in the year. I just don't see Milwaukee as they're just not as good as they were last year. That offense is just not very good. They are, I mean, they're plus 39 in the run differential, but they also play the shit Central, Cubs, Reds, and Pirates. So that's not saying a whole lot, when you consider St. Louis is plus 73, almost double in the same division. They are, however, 26 and 22 against teams above 500, so that's pretty impressive. While the Padres are not. So I just don't trust Milwaukee, man. I don't know why. Just gut feeling. And then Philadelphia coming on strong. They're pitching. I mean, I've been talking Philadelphia since the beginning of the year. I think they added enough offensive pieces. They have a good staff in Wheeler, Nola, and Gibson. And there's one more starter there. Anyway, so that's my NL wildcard teams right now. Injuries considering, anything could happen. Tatis coming back for the Padres is going to make such a big difference as well. So that's another reason I think they'll get through Milwaukee and Philadelphia. In the American League, I'm going to shake shit up a bit. I think Toronto gets in. I think Tampa gets in. I think Minnesota wins the Central, but I think Cleveland gets in. So Toronto, Tampa, Cleveland are my wild card spots with Seattle. Even though they go on those streaks, man, they're kind of like Boston, man. They just, I don't know. I just don't. They do play teams above 500 really well, but I think it's like East Coast teams that have to travel to Seattle is what they're, because they're 31 and 20. Or wait, yeah, they're 31 and 20. Well, they're almost the exact same record. 31 and 26 at home and 30 and 26 away. So that's almost the exact same record. Never mind. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's my teams. That's who I got. Let's get into this this Field of Dreams game, Adam.
Yes, indeed. If you remember last year's Field of Dreams game, it was a you can't beat the first of any kind of like series you play. Field of Dreams games, you had Kevin Costner walking out of the cornfield, kind of with the movie soundtrack in the background. Then you had the White Sox and Yankees all enter from the cornfield. Very dramatic, very kind of cool setting. He gave a speech to the crowd on hand in Iowa about being the first major league game in Iowa. He had this is a great game overall. Jose Abreu had the first MLB home run in Iowa during that game. Yankees, White Sox pretty much traded homers the entire game. And then obviously you know how it ends. Tim Anderson comes up, does a walk-off two-run homer, kind of going like this, going around third. Fireworks are going off in the background. Just an awesome game. This year you got the Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds, who will be playing in the 2022 version of the Field of Dreams games. And as you said at the top of the show, uniforms and caps were released. The Reds will be wearing their replica 1919 World Series championship jerseys. They wore these uniforms between 1914 and 1920. Blue pinstripes, not black, blue pinstripes with the wishbone C with the Reds in the middle. The cap is blue pinstripe with the old school C with the red band towards the end of the cap. The Chicago Cubs will be wearing replicas of their 1927 to 36 road jerseys. Wishbone C with the bear holding the bat in the middle of the C. Navy hat with the same bear logo in white holding the bat. Fun fact about these jerseys, they won 3 NL pennants wearing these jerseys. They lost to the Athletics in 29, the Yankees in 32, which include the famous Ruth calling a shot. And then they lost to the Tigers in 35. So they were 0 for 3 in World Series play in these jerseys. I mean, again, phenomenal jersey matchup if you're a uniform enthusiastic. I love the uniform matchup. I love the old school uniform that they're wearing. Chris, give me your thoughts on the uniforms and what you expect from this year's game.
Do we know who's throwing yet?
I don't know. Let's find out.
You look that up, and I'll tell you what I think about the jerseys. I think they're great. These throwback jerseys are fun. The Reds C is interesting, and the red band is kind of cool. And then their regular jersey pretty much just looks like their current C with the Reds in the middle, and a pinstripe jersey. It looks really smooth though. So I like it. The Cubs jersey is cool. I love the old school Cub. Just kind of looks like he's sitting on a chair holding a bat. And then like the off-white jersey with the blue sleeve lines, and then the blue around the collar, and then down the buttons, kind of lining the button holes is cool. So those look really nice. I think the game and the whole atmosphere and everything that they bring to Iowa and carrying on the Field of Dreams tradition is a lot of fun. Definitely going to watch the game Thursday on Fox. Starts at 7 p.m. What, Eastern time, Central time?
Eastern time, officially 7:15 start time. They'll probably do some pregame at like 5 o'clock. I imagine they'll do like kind of something similar with the teams maybe coming through the corn. Maybe they'll do another kind of like entrance for that. It won't be able to top last year.
They should come out of the house.
Yeah, a little bit of a walk, but yeah.
It's not that far. It's not that far. I've been there. It's not that far. They'll be fine. Oh yeah, because it's on the other side of the field. Whatever, dude. They should come out of the other field. So that I think it's gonna be great. I'll definitely be checking it out. Who's throwing for? Do we know who's throwing?
Yeah, so we got Smiley for the Cubs, 4-6 with the 3.97 ERA versus Lodolo for the Reds, 3-3 with a 4.4 ERA. So pretty decent.
Reds are gonna win. Nick Lodolo is so fun to watch. He strikes out shit tons of people.
Yeah, I think that's a good pitching matchup for the Reds. So again, we'll definitely watch the game. It'll definitely be a cool thing to watch again. And some news regarding the Field of Dreams. What game was announced today? There will not be a game in 2023. Chris has told me to breathe into a paper bag, as I am upset. But you had mentioned that there was construction in the area.
Yeah, yeah, it's just
So
construction around the field and such. So yeah,
so
they just won't be having a game next year. But hopefully they'll bring it back the following season.
which I think they should. This is
It's fun. Brings money and revenue to the Field of Dreams, which keeps that going, and then gives Iowa a professional baseball game every year. So it's a lot of fun. Um, but other than that, we won't have a game next year. But watch the game tomorrow, 7:15 Eastern with Adams East Coast bias bullshit. Um,
hey,
check your local.
I grew up Central Time. I had to get used to this East Coast
Well,
bias.
it's
Well,
not it's not fair for the rest of us who
well,
live in a
sure.
real time zone
Well,
called Mountain.
I chose to move to the East Coast, so that's on me.
That is on you. That is on you. But that's okay.
Yeah, it is.
It's everybody goes off at Eastern time. So check your local listings. Watch the game on Fox. Have a good time. Have some old timey popcorn or do something fun with the kids. Why not?
There you
Um,
go.
but getting into the weekend, we have three pretty good series that kind of touch on all of the games that we've or teams that we've already kind of talked about. Adam, what is the first matchup of the weekend that you would like to discuss, friend?
It's gonna be your NL Central matchup: Milwaukee Brewers at the St. Louis Cardinal. A nice little 3 game series at Busch Stadium. Game one, you got Lauer for the Brewers, 8-3 with a 3.59 ERA versus Montgomery, 4-3 with a 3.53 ERA. Game two, you got Burns, who's 8-5 with a 2.45 ERA versus Wainwright, 4.42 ERA. And to close out the series, you got Ashby for the Brewers, 2-10, 4.32 ERA versus Mikolas, 8-9 with a 3.50 ERA. So if you're looking for like a pivotal NL Central matchup, this is probably one to look at because I'm gonna look at the schedule, see how many more times these teams play. But these are the two teams who we thought were going to be in line for the NL Central from the start. This has been a very close race, obviously a little closer than what I thought it was going to be. I thought Milwaukee would pretty much have some distance between the Cardinals and the rest of the division based on what they did last year with the division. Obviously, that's not the case this year. Milwaukee has kind of underperformed. So looking at the Brewers, they only have one series left against the Cardinals, and that's a 2 game series in the middle of September. Oh, sorry, they have 4 games left against the Cardinals, and they're both 2 game series, middle of September and at the end of September. So this is definitely a pivotal head-to-head matchup if you maybe come down to a tiebreaker scenario where they have to go based on head-to-head records for your division champ. Um, I'm leaning St. Louis in this series. I am leaning St. Louis in this series over Milwaukee. I don't think Milwaukee has the same staff that they has. Like you mentioned, maybe the players have like maybe quit on everyone at the beginning of the season. They haven't been as competitive throughout the season. I'm giving the series to St. Louis. I'll go 2-1 St. Louis.
Yeah, same. 2-1 St. Louis. I think Burns probably wins that second game, but I think that first game is going to be interesting. That could go Milwaukee's way. Lauer and Jordan Montgomery, who they picked up from the Yankees, are very similar statistic wise. Lauer has a better record, but that doesn't mean shit. So yeah, that'll be a good game or good series. Well, it'll be a pivotal series. Whether or not it's good is yet to be determined. The surprise Orioles versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Orioles travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Rays. Game one, actually, Baltimore doesn't have a starter defined for any of the games, but I'm gonna check to
Actually,
see.
I got starting pitching right here. So they're gonna go with Spencer Watkins for game one. I'm pretty sure I botched that name. Game two, they're gonna be going with I remember
It's
Jordan Lyles versus Shane McClanahan. That'll be a good matchup. And then game three will be Kyle Bradish versus Drew Rosen. Um,
who? Drew Rosin?
I
Is that
botched that.
like this? Is he have like the rosin bag out there?
I'm pretty
Do you-
sure he does. I'm horrible with last names. Let's be real.
All right, so we're gonna try this again. It's Spencer Watkins versus Corey Kluber in game one. It's Jordan Lyles versus Shane McClanahan in game two. And it is Kyle Bradish versus Drew Rasmussen,
Yes.
not Rosenbagger from
I read names off a goddamn name tag every day.
Do you just butcher your employees' names on a daily basis?
We're a first name. I read only first names.
There's plenty of first names that are hard for you too, Adam. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, again. Anyway, moving on.
all right. So, who do you like in this series, Adam? It's in
So-
Tampa.
So here's. I mean, this is an interesting series to say the least because Baltimore, again, like we've mentioned, they have been playing a lot better than what experts have been picking. They're in the playoff race right now. How long they last in the playoffs is clearly up to them and how good they can play. They're 7-3 in their last 10 on a 2-game winning streak. They have an 8-run differential of +8. At home, they're 33-21. They're 25-31 on the road, so a little bit of a disadvantage since they'll be traveling to Tampa Bay.
So this is the last series that these two teams will play. They have played 16 times already. Do you know what the record is, Adam?
I do not know the head-to-head record.
It is 500.
Is it really? These teams have
Yep.
been even killed the entire season.
8-8, Baltimore and Tampa. So it comes down to this series on who holds the series advantage. And to me, advantage Tampa pitching. I mean,
I was just about to say that looking at the first two pitchers for Tampa, Kluber and McClanahan. McClanahan. I'm just gonna forget this day and switch on to Thursday. I am going to agree with you, though. I do give the edge to Tampa when it comes to pitching.
I mean, I think Shane McClanahan has a decent shot to win the AL Cy Young. Corey Kluber is definitely having a bounce back season, and Rasmussen's been fantastic. I mean, with a sub-3 ERA. So I do give the advantage to Tampa. Baltimore will probably sneak one out, so I'd still say 2-1 Tampa.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you as well. I'm going to agree with you on this one. 2-1 Tampa.
Did we write down our wild card picks for today, August 10th, or did we totally botch that?
I think we totally botched that. If need to, we go. We
can check the tape. This is recorded.
Yeah, we are recording. We can go back to the tape.
Fucking A. That's awesome. I'm pretty sure I picked Tampa Bay to win the wild card, or to get in the wild card. So I'm going to stick with that. Final series of the weekend is the red hot Phillies take on the red hot New York Mets. However, poor Philadelphia gets the actual buzzsaw of Max Scherzer and Jake DeGrom back-to-back on Friday and Saturday, and they'll most likely face Chris Bassett on Sunday.
You said Bassett? They're going to face Scherzer, DeGrom, and Bassett?
That should be the third starter, yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's just
if you look at the final two of Taijuan Walker, who has 10 wins, and Cookie Carrasco, who has 13 fucking wins, they're the best staff in baseball.
Up and down 1 to 5. I agree with you. They have the best pitching staff in baseball. And I mean,
Yeah, so it's Scherzer, DeGrom, Bassett, and then they start the Atlanta series with Carrasco and Walker.
Ooh.
So that should be fun.
That's a good series right there. I mean, you start off with Scherzer 8-2, DeGrom 1. I mean, you said he was hitting 100 plus on some of his pitches,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got Bassett who's having a good year in New York.
He's a bulldog. That guy's a grinder. He went 8 innings two nights ago, struck out 9 or something like that, 10.
He's kind of like the Johnny Cueto of that team. Just he eats up innings. He eats up innings for that team.
Yeah, for sure. So Ranger Suarez for the Phils on Friday, Aaron Nola on Saturday, and then honestly, like Zach Wheeler is still great, and he pitches in New York on Sunday, so that'll be interesting with him going back to New York and Bassett. So I think Mets still win this series 2-1 with Max and Jake getting the first two. Wheeler is still better than Chris Bassett, but it could go either way. What say you, AK?
So you had Mets with the 2-1. I'm going to do you one better. I give the New York sweep for this series. I am kind of hopefully learning my lesson from not picking the Mets last weekend. I am going to give them the sweep.
Ooh. Don't do that.
And again, the two of us, if you've listened to the show, I am not the betting one. My co-host Chris is the one with the betting mind. I just spew out stats, botch last names, and speak English very poorly.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's not your strong suit. You have a really good memory. You just can't pronounce people's names.
No.
But that's okay.
That is okay.
Gonna go into sports management saying like Shane McClan, and
they're gonna look at me and go like, "You're just gonna sit behind the camera, don't say a word, just sit there in the computer and speed out stats."
I can't imagine you learning Spanish, man. That would be even more comical. It's not even like foreigners' names necessarily that you struggle with. It's just anybody.
It's names in general.
In general. That's okay though. It's all right.
It's all good.
It's comedy relief for our listeners.
There you go.
Week in and week out, Adam will mispronounce somebody's name, and we always bust out every pitcher's name that we're going to talk about and multiple other players. So, I mean, he's probably got. I think he could probably pronounce the AL MVP favorite right now. You can say the man in New York's name, correct?
Aaron Judge. Yes, I can say
Judge.
Okay. Yes,
that's like 3 total syllables, so that's good.
Yeah.
You're all Aaron Judge. Yes, 3. I'm curious, like who the National League favorite is right now. I don't even know. It's gonna be,
would you say? Trying to think. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me look up stats real quick.
I don't agree with this. So it's Paul Goldschmidt right now, followed by Austin Riley, Freddie Freeman, Pete Alonso, Nolan Arenado, and Mookie Betts.
I think he's a good. Goldsmith's a pretty good pick right now. I mean, he started off slow, but he did have that stretch where he was absolutely crushing the ball and just kind of bounced into the MVP. But he's always an MVP candidate. He's always in that MVP candidate race year in, year out. He's a very reliable player. He's very durable. I think he hasn't been injured as much as some of your other MVP candidates. He's very rarely on the IL. If not, it's for a short period of time.
Remember when Freddie Freeman was like, when they had that story about him like signing in LA and shit, and how it wasn't going very well and whatnot, and now he's MVP candidate.
Yeah,
3rd on the ballot. Austin Riley's having a great year, but man, Pete Alonso is carrying the Mets. He leads the world in RBIs. He's hitting 280, and he has almost 30 home runs. I know Goldie's got probably a better average. And
Goldie is leading the NL on average with a 331 overall average. Freeman has a 323. Iglesias has 315. And then McNeil is 307. And Turner runs out the number 5 spot with the 306 average. So, I mean, still pretty good batting title competition.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk more about MVPs and Cy Youngs and shit as we get closer. We'll keep watching these wild card races and division races, which, man, the Central on both sides is the best race. So until next week, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the Field of Dreams game tomorrow, and we will see you later.
Have a good night, everyone.